What is the stupidest thing you've done just to show you could do it? A buddy bet I couldn't finish the spiciest chicken sandwich at this joint known for insanely spicy chicken in under 30 minutes. I knew I fucked up when they gave me gloves to eat the sandwich so the sauce couldn't touch my skin, and made me sign a waiver. Won the bet, but really I lost in the end. Technically I think it was your end that lost. Edit. Thanks for the awards, peeps. Also, I missed the nuance in that last line above, so apologies for applying the same humor with a sledgehammer. I've won, but at what cost? My partner was a heavy smoker, and at the time, I'd never touched a cigarette. I would subtly, and sometimes not so subtly, but always lovingly, urge her to quit. She told me I had no idea how hard it was. I decided to take up smoking for about a month and then quit just to show her I could do it. That was 10 years ago. I'm on a pack a day. She no longer smokes. This might be the worst one yet. Edit. I really hope you can overcome smoking though. Shouldn't be a problem now that their partners has shown them how easy it is. Cliff diving. Saw an old man do a front flip off a 40-foot cliff. I said if he can do it, so can I. I did the flip alright, followed by a belly flop that Zeus could hear. Knocked the air out of me. But luckily people were floating nearby to save my dumb ass. I bruised my ass by jumping off a similar height rock and landing in a seated position. How is that enema? Public enema fucking sucks. I fell water skiing one time and my father, being the kind man he is, pointed to the giant turd floating next to me and would not help me back in the boat while he laughed about it, and I, as a 14-year-old boy, had just been ass-fucked by a lake. I've literally never told anyone this except the doctor at the hospital, but it happened to me too. I got thrown off a jet ski at 70 miles per hour and hit the water ass first and then smacked my head. Shit my pants. Sprained my neck. Had a concussion and sprained a shoulder. 0 tenths do not recommend. Edit. Wow guys, thanks for the award. I'm glad that my poopy jet ski story made so many people laugh. I'm okay now. Just have a few issues with my shoulder and will never to get on a jet ski again, lol. In 2001, my sister got me a Sony phone. A tiny little thing with a flip-down front. She worked in a phone shop and got discount. On the box, it said the phone was waterproof and there were tiny rubber seals in places. I believed the monsieur at the pub where I worked. This aspect came up in conversation. Some guy said the phone couldn't be waterproof, and that shower-proof was probably more accurate. Remembering the box, I argued the point, and dropped my phone into a pint of beer in an effort to prove it. I was wrong. Brutal but well-earned life lesson. OMG, my friend did something similar at a bar years ago. She had a case called Lifeproof and she swore it made her phone indestructible. So she picked it up, slammed it on the table, and shouted, "Lifeproof." When she lifted it up, her entire screen was shattered. Walked through the brush of our tree line to get a football to prove it wasn't poison ivy. I did it. I got the football. It was poison ivy. I once did something similar, but it turns out I'm immune to poison ivy. The rest of my friends? Not so much. Fun fact: poison ivy in humans is like chocolate for dogs. It only affects 40 to 60% of things. With chocolate for dogs, it affects enough of them to just avoid all dogs from all chocolates just to be safe. With poison ivy in humans, only a certain percent get the effects. However, just because you don't get the effects the first time, such as itchiness and rashes, you can easily get them the second or third, etc. You can handle poison ivy 20 times thinking you're immune. Then all of a sudden the 21st time hits you like a brick. Like chocolate for dogs. Even if you think you're okay, it's still best to just avoid. I used to work at a shitty movie theater. As it gets to midnight, all the employees hang out behind the concessions counter and shoot the shit. Eat the popcorn before we have to throw it out, etc. One of them dared someone to do a butter shot. But like, the liquid butter for popcorn is way closer to straight oil. So an oil shot. I'm always a slut for attention, so I said pass it to me and I downed it without letting myself think about the consequences. It tasted like liquid plastic and I hated it, but everyone was howling and incredulous and I felt cool for a whole minute. Shat my brains out the next morning. Worth it. Edit. Spelling. Edit 2. I wake up to an award. My first. What a thing to see on my day off. Thanks you awesome losers. I'd like to thank my impulsive nature and God and also Jesus and Edit 3. GOLD. I too worked at a shitty movie theater. You have all of my respect. Won a donut eating contest in 10 minutes. I ate about 17 donuts. And seconds before the time was up and I had all my thoughts set on having a hearty cleansing puke. A motherfucker who wasn't even taking part yelled that throwing up afterwards should disqualify you. Somebody counted that I took in a few days worth of calories. My appetite came back 2 days after. Greater than a motherfucker who wasn't even taking part yelled that throwing up afterwards should disqualify you. Ridiculous. You ate the most donuts in the allotted time frame. Everything after that doesn't matter. Yeah, it should only be if you throw up during the event are you disqualified. Edit. To all the comments about eating their own throw up. I was only considering someone not doing that as I couldn't do that myself. But I agree. Jumped illegally over the China-Myanmar border. And back again. Edit. Well, this blew up. This was in 2002. I was in China legally. In the town of Ruili, Yunnan province. Across a small stream and 2 thin strings of barbed wire was the city of Muse. White Elephant City, Myanmar, which was closed to foreigners at the time. A group of opium addicts were smoking in the thick bushes growing near the border, and invited me over for a chat. I saw no border guards were within line of sight of me, so I did. We had an interesting chat in a mixture of English and Chinese. Later I wandered into the closest narrow street lined with dilapidated white wooden buildings, with bearded men in sarongs wandering around. I bought a Burmese noodle dish. No alcohol available in that state. Then I hightailed it back to the same crossing spot and over. About 90 minutes after I first went over. Ruili, China's, or at least was, a lawless borderland, with all the vices that lawless border towns typically attract. My crossing was the least of the local authorities' worries. I wouldn't repeat it or recommend it to anyone, though. Lucky you're not rotting away in a nasty-ass prison cell. Parents put a curfew on the computer when I was approximately 12 during summer break. No gaming from 10 p.m. - 6 a.m. Monsieur. A reasonable person would go to bed at 10 to 10:30 and wake up at 7 to play. Right. 12-year-old me just stayed up until 6 a.m. Woke up my parents, and played until noon, then died until dinner. Rinse and repeat for a few days until my parents got sick of waking up at 6 a.m. Monsieur. Then I went back to gaming until like 2 a.m. Monsieur. That's one way to solve the problem, haha. True, but only worked because my parents gave in. If they stuck to their guns, my gaming time would have shrank since I was only gaming like 6 hours a day with that 8-hour dead period. I, at age like 9 to 10, wanted a cookie that my friend had. Said friend proceeded to completely lick the entire cookie. Still want it? He said, holding it out. Dumbass me proceeded to grab it and eat it in one bite. Total power move looking back on it. Gotta assert your dominance. I proved to myself that it's possible to eat 5 kilos of shrimp in one sitting. I also proved that eating 5 kilos of shrimp in one sitting will make you very sick. Agreed. Red Lobster did all-you-can-eat shrimp once and I considered it a challenge. I sat down and immediately asked my waitress what the most shrimp she had seen a person eat was. I was about 4 years old and my grandfather was making something with buttermilk. I saw it in his hand, and I cried and screamed and begged to have some. He kept saying, "No, you won't like it," quote, but I persisted. He finally poured me an entire glass. I took one swig and I'm sure he could see the disgust on my face, because he looked like he had one. I stared at him right in his eyeballs as I chugged the entire glass. Ha! My kids did this with Baker's chocolate. They, at the time 9 and 6, begged for a piece. They're it, and I could see the disgust in their faces. But they had to be all alpha and be it's good. And then had another piece. Morons. I had eating chocolate in the pantry. Should have told them, since they like it so much, that's the only chocolate you'll buy for them from now on. In grade school, maybe age 11 or 12, I had these cheap jeans. I figured out that I could flex my belly and pop the button open. Found this funny, and guy friends in class got a laugh too. One of them turns to a girl. "Hey girl, check out what op can do." I flexed my belly and let out a huge fart while the button popped open. She turned away. My buddy laughed, and I never did this trick again. When I was 6, I stapled my fingers because I had convinced all of my friends that I had iron hands. I was around that age too, and I was fiddling around with a stapler and stapled my pointer fingers together. It was the skin just next to the nails, so it barely hurt. I went downstairs to tell my mom, who was doing laundry, that I stapled my fingers together. I still remember the look on her face to this day. Edit. Then again, that was yesterday, so of course I remember. When I was around 12, I was neglecting to flush my piss. Too busy playing Armored Core. So my dear mother brings me into the bathroom and tells me if I don't flush next time, she's going to dip my hands in the piss. I looked at her, made a hammer fist, smashed it in the toilet, covered myself in piss, only a little on her. Thank God, I wasn't even a malicious child. Just salivated at the opportunity to show I could withstand the punishment and was thus unafraid. I could imagine a little 12-year-old thinking he's badass, dripping with piss, and his mom, completely terrified of his immense power, shoved my pointer finger into my nose up to second knuckle. I then got a sinus infection. Who knew? My daughter did that to me when she was 2. Then she hooked her finger and pulled. Had a terrible blood nose, and for a few days if I sneezed it would start back up. 0 tenths would not recommend. I audibly gasped when I read this, and I wish I hadn't read it at all. I stabbed my leg with a pencil in elementary school. I told people I couldn't really feel much pain, which, at the time, was true. There was a spot on my leg from the lead for years. Lol. I still have a piece of graphite in my left hand from getting stabbed with a pencil 33 years ago. Edit. All you mad lads with a piece in your fucking eyeballs. Alright already. You win. I have a graphite pencil mark in my leg from grade 2. My lunch buddy stabbed me when I tried to kick him under the desk. I am 54 years old. I told my 6th grade friends I could just off a 2-story roof and not get hurt. Guess who only got a scraped knee that day? Not me. I broke my leg. Parkour people, on the other hand, can do a safety roll and be mostly unharmed aside from some mild pain. Played that stupid fucking 5-finger fillet game with a compass back when I was in school. As I got more confidence, I obviously got faster, and inevitably the point went right into the side of my fingertip. Fucking idiot. I played that stupid game at scout camp. I stopped after one of the younger scouts got too cocky because he could go faster than us older guys and sliced about 1/2 inch into the webbing between his fingers. I can still see the blood. Not me, but one of my former co-workers told us about the time he ate a tub of butter on a dare. He made it about halfway through and had to throw up. He said what came out was neon yellow. For the next month, the smell of butter made him gag, and when he perspired, he could still smell it. You'd think he'd learn, but he attempted the butter tub challenge a second time. This time, he paced himself and actually finished the whole thing. He said the fuck up though was eating it before having to catch a train. While he was waiting, his heart was racing and he felt samped up. He did push-ups and jumping jacks at Penn Station. I don't even like the stuff butter dare's a dare. That's rich coming from a croissant. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.